Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, in my presentation, I wish to talk about a very current topic, one that affects us all, and that is the virus, the current viral infection. Everything I say in this presentation is all based on scientific communications published so far. I have read a lot of scientific publications, and I would like to share a sort of summary of them. I will also indicate the literature citations in case anyone is interested in the sources, because I will indicate the source of everything that is said. The virus itself is known today as SARS-CoV-19. In fact, it is not a new virus. It already appeared in southern China in 2002. That was the SARS virus, or severe acute respiratory syndrome, which appeared in southern China in 2002. Another version of this is MERS, or Middle Eastern Respiratory Syndrome, a disease that appeared in Saudi Arabia in 2012. COV, or CoV, means a virus of animal origin. Viruses have been isolated from animals in the past. For example, MERS was probably transferred to humans from camels, and the others may have been connected to bats or other forest animals. SARS-CoV-2 is an acute respiratory syndrome called coronavirus 2 that emerged in Wuhan in 2019. In 2020, this virus was renamed to COVID-19 by the United Nations and the WHO, and today we know it as COVID-19. COVID-19 is an infectious, rapidly spreading virus, causing severe respiratory symptoms. Many types of viruses are known in the world today, and they have caused many epidemics in the past. For example, most recently, the H1N1 influenza virus in 2009. So there were, there are, and there will be viruses. And we have to be prepared for them. It is important for us to reduce or to strive to reduce the symptoms that this current virus causes. Among the symptoms, the primary ones are respiratory symptoms, like a runny nose, sneezing, sore throat, a dry cough, and shortness of breath. Another interesting symptom that often occurs is loss of taste, in addition to fever, fatigue, and gastrointestinal symptoms, for example, diarrhea. One of the most serious problems is related to the circulation, vascular, and cardiovascular system. Significant platelet aggregation, so-called adhesion, may occur that can lead to thrombosis and other complications. Based on the data to date, most deaths have occurred when patients have had acute circulatory or heart problems, or when these problems developed. It should be noted that there is no therapy against the virus. Prevention is the only possible solution. At present, there is no drug or therapy with positive effects, clearly proven by a wide range of applications and experiences, especially not against mutant viruses, because this virus has many mutants. It multiplies and mutates very quickly, and the mutants are often much more dangerous than the original virus. We need to put prevention first, hence the issue of isolation is essential. There should be no contact with an infected person or someone with respiratory problems. Frequent hand washing, disinfection with soap and disinfectants is vital. Avoiding contact with one's face and mouth, keeping a minimum distance of 2 meters, and wearing a mask are extremely crucial and effective. On the other hand, official regulations must be complied with. It is important to strengthen our body's immune system through a health-conscious diet, nutritional supplements, and lifestyle, and accept vaccines. This is what we can say today, which is supported by lots of data. About the virus itself, it's extremely interesting to look at the image that was posted. The virus is small, spiky, and spherical. It is an RNA virus. Its genome is a single-stranded RNA. There are spike proteins on its outer surface, and these spikes on the surface are proteins. The virus itself consists of about 30,000 nucleotides and 10,000 amino acids. The spike proteins on its surface are one of the most important, the most characteristic proteins. But there are other proteins, so-called envelope proteins, that are built into the cell membrane. And there are also proteins on the surface of DNA that are commonly referred to as nucleocapsid proteins. It is important that the SARS and MERS viruses, these two types, are genetically similar. Today, science has data on how these viruses work. The first significant thing is that the virus needs to bind to the host cell. The binding happens on the surface with the small spikes, so the virus binds to the receptor. This is the first essential process. So if we want protection against the virus, we need to inhibit its binding, because if the virus gets inside the cell through the cell membrane, it removes its protein coat. Its enzyme system starts synthesizing various nucleosides and proteins and then incorporates them. Then the virus gets enveloped and exits the cell, but in larger numbers, so it multiplies and does so within the cell. So how can we help? We can inhibit the binding. We can inhibit the enzymes in the internal processes when the virus synthesizes proteins and nucleosides, or we block its exit. There have been very detailed studies on these in recent months, and more results are emerging. If we look at the scientific literature, it is quite clear that it is a global pandemic, not a localized case, and it is spreading extremely fast. What is the solution? It is our diet that plays an extremely important role in both prevention and influencing the condition. Here we talk about the consumption of fruit and vegetables, which is one of the priority areas nowadays. The pre- and probiotics are essential to maintain the health of our intestinal microflora that serves our immune system. In addition, vitamins, elements, vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, selenium, flavonoids, and other plant substances are also significant. Basically, we need to follow the direction of prevention, wherein the virus does not enter our body and its binding is inhibited. For this, we need to strengthen, modulate, and stimulate our immune system. Plant substances, especially polyphenols, have been proven to play a role in inhibiting binding and intracellular reproductive processes. Therefore, it is clear that anti-COVID-19 plant substances are natural inhibitors, which include flavanol derivatives, terpene derivatives, curcumin, and many more compounds and natural substances. How do flavonoids produce their effect on this virus? We already know this. Firstly, at the binding phase, then at the internal processes, and also at the exit. Polyphenols, which have been much talked about in previous presentations, inhibit the binding of the virus to the receptor on the surface. Then, when the virus enters the cell, they inhibit the dropping of the protein. Then they inhibit the synthesis of the protein, the synthesis of the nucleic acid, and finally, they inhibit the virus from exiting the cell and multiplying. So polyphenols, these plant substances, produce their effects in a wide variety of places. They inhibit the entry, the internal processes, and the exit of the virus. Today, science knows more and more about this. Of course, there are also plant materials that are not polyphenolic or flavonoid-type compounds. Let's talk about these too in a few sentences. Melatonin. We've talked about this before. It has a wide variety of physiological effects, and it is the most important regulator of our biological clock. It is involved in the regulation of our immune system and has been proven to be antiviral. That is, it has antiviral effects. In particular, it can repair the damage of cell membranes and it can hinder processes caused by oxidation processes. Over the past year, one of the world's leading research groups, the Writers Group in America, has published a number of publications about melatonin, and they also published research findings on viruses and melatonin. So melatonin itself is a multifaceted active participant in our antioxidant defense system. In 2016, Reiter and his team previously announced that melatonin is also beneficial for Ebola and other viral infections. Now, in 2019-2020, it has been established that melatonin may be considered as a potential adjunctive treatment against COVID-19. Several publications have been published, not only by writers, but also by other sources, that melatonin may be beneficial against the COVID-19 virus. There are many publications in this area. There are many publications on plant materials highlighting the use of lipoic acid, which is an important ingredient of vegetables, and underlying yeast beta-glucan, as the #1 protective substance in activating our immune system. So there are proven results. Although there are substances we haven't talked about before, or not so much, and these are related to medicinal mushrooms. Shiitake mushrooms have now been found to contain an amino acid-like substance called ergothioneine, which has an antiviral effect.
Ami tulajdonképpen antivirális hatású. Maga a ergothionein.
Ergothioneine captures dietary free radicals, so it reduces reactive oxygen species levels. It is an antioxidant, and it is very interesting that it is more stable than the other well-known physiologically vital compound, glutathione, which is one of our most important internal substances with an antioxidant effect. Under physiological conditions, ergothioneine is more stable than that. Interestingly, it is very beneficial, especially in combination with vitamin C. So here the complex nature occurs. There may be an interaction between the active ingredients. Regarding the anti-COVID-19 effect of ergothioneine, it has been found that it inhibits the replication of the virus and helps with inflammation, so it can reduce the so-called cytokine storm. It has an immunoactivating effect and reduces the severity of viral infections. Another significant feature is that it aids the post-COVID-19 regeneration processes. Of course, medicinal mushrooms contain not only ergothioneine or beta-glucan, but also proteins that attack the virus's intracellular enzymes so that it cannot reproduce in the cell, and there is literature data on this. So consuming medicinal mushrooms is recommended. In order to inhibit the reproduction of the virus, the most important task we can do is to promote the activation of our immune system, the immune stimulation. Vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, selenium, beta-glucan, and many flavonoid-type compounds play a role in this process because they activate the organic components of the immune system, the macrophages, the T cells, and the NK cells. Therefore, the risk of infection can be reduced. This is how our immune system can help us. Another thing I would like to draw attention to is the optimal functioning of the intestinal microflora, the combined consumption of pro- and prebiotics. Probiotics are the lactobacillus-type bacterial strains that occur in yogurt and kefir. The food for them are the fibers, the prebiotics, and these must be added because they produce the optimal defense together. In the field of prebiotics, there is a new intriguing scientific result. Flavonoids and polyphenols have been considered antioxidants, substances that capture free radicals and many other things. In recent weeks, a scientific publication has become known which implies that polyphenols can also be looked at as prebiotics. This is a brand new scientific achievement. So prebiotics are dietary fibers, and polyphenols together provide the material that helps our intestinal microflora to function optimally. This is especially important in the case of viral infections because the intestinal lung axis has been proven to exist. This means that the optimal functioning of the intestinal microflora affects the parameters of the lungs and respiratory tract, and this is the area where the current virus can cause severe infections. It is becoming more and more known that we need to step up our efforts to reduce the cardiovascular side effects because coagulation and platelet adhesion lead to thrombosis and vascular wall problems. This is why a lot of people now use anticoagulants. It is well known and has long been proven by science that polyphenols have anticoagulant features. And I would like to draw particular attention to resveratrol, which is an ingredient of red wine and red grapes, and to the anthocyanin-type compounds which occur in berries. Many scientific publications are known about their anticoagulant features. Curcumin has the same anticoagulant effect beside being anti-inflammatory. It also plays a very important role in the healthy functioning of the vessel walls and in many other processes. Another interesting fact is that the omega-3 fatty acids, which we talk about a lot and have talked about before, have an essential role in anticoagulant effects and in reducing anti-inflammatory processes. Therefore, an increased consumption of omega-3 unsaturated fatty acids is clearly proven and recommended to help prevention and affect the processes. If we collect and review the data published in Science, it turns out that we must rely on plant materials for protection and to influence the condition. These include polyphenols, phthalenic acids, quercetin, and epigallocatechin, an important component of green tea, anthocyanins, resveratrol, beta-glucan, ergothioneine, melatonin, polyunsaturated fatty acids, and more. If we take a look at these and the results that have been published about them, then we can conclude that they are beneficial in the fight against the virus. The substances and products that we consume should preferably contain these, because they have been proven effective. There are 3 areas where we can expect positive effects from complex products containing phytochemicals, especially where these substances occur together. The first area is avoiding infections or prevention. The second is the reduction of the effects of infections when we are already infected. And the third is post-infection regeneration, because even if the infection seems to pass, there may be prolonged symptoms that we should strive to reduce. In connection with the review of hundreds of publications, we can establish that one of the characteristics of flavon products is that they contain compounds with several beneficial, scientifically and physiologically proven effects in a complex, synergistic environment. Anthocyanins, resveratrol, melatonin, and beta-glucan, etc. Therefore, in connection with COVID-19, the previously known natural compound components are present in certain members of the flavon product line. I would like to ask everyone to consider this. We have opportunities that we should use for our health and to defeat the virus. Thank you for your attention.